Every family has someone who does not quite fit, the one whose name comes up differently in conversations, the one who made choices others could not understand, the one who somehow became the symbol of everything that went wrong even though all they ever did was refuse to pretend. By the end of this video, we will go through how dysfunctional families unconsciously create scapegoats, why the outsider often sees more clearly than anyone on the inside, what really happens when someone breaks a generational pattern, and much more. There is a pattern in family systems that psychologists have studied for decades. When a family carries unresolved pain, things nobody talks about, emotions nobody processes, truths nobody acknowledges, that pain does not simply disappear. It has to go somewhere, and usually it lands on one person. Sometimes it is the sensitive one, the child who felt things deeply when everyone else learned to go numb. That sensitivity gets labeled as weakness, as drama, as too much. Sometimes it is the rebellious one, the child who pushed back when rules made no sense. That rebellion gets labeled as defiance, as disrespect, as the problem child. Sometimes it is simply the one who was different. Different interests, different values, different way of seeing the world. In families that demand conformity, difference becomes threatening. A role gets assigned, not officially. Nobody sits down and decides. But slowly, unconsciously, one person becomes the container for everything the family refuses to face. Carl Jung called this the shadow. The parts of the psyche that are rejected, denied, pushed into darkness. He was describing individuals, but families have shadows too. Collective pain, collective shame, collective secrets, and someone ends up carrying all of it. There is a term in family systems therapy called the identified patient. It refers to the person in a family who shows symptoms, who acts out, who seems to have all the problems. But therapists discovered something over and over again. The identified patient is not usually the sickest one in the family. They are often the healthiest, the one whose system could not tolerate the dysfunction, the one whose symptoms are actually a signal that something in the family is deeply wrong. The canary in the coal mine does not die because it is weak. It dies because it is sensitive enough to detect what others cannot. That is the black sheep, not the source of the problem, the one honest enough or perhaps just unable to hide it. There is a painful irony in this. The person labeled as the problem is often the one who eventually seeks help, who goes to therapy, who reads the books, who does the uncomfortable work of understanding patterns that were never their fault in the first place. Meanwhile, everyone else stays comfortable. The system works for them, or at least they have learned to pretend it does. But the black sheep, pushed to the margins, forced to reckon with pain others avoid, becomes something unexpected. A cycle breaker, not despite being the outsider, but because of it. Research on generational trauma shows that patterns repeat until someone steps outside the system long enough to see it clearly. From the inside, dysfunction looks like normal life. Water does not know it is wet. But from the outside, from the position of the one who never quite belonged, the patterns become visible. All those years of feeling like an outsider, of being misunderstood, of watching family gatherings from a distance and wondering why connection felt so forced. That was not punishment. That was preparation. Preparation for work that nobody inside the system could do because they were too enmeshed to see what needed changing. Joseph Campbell wrote about the hero's journey. How the hero must leave the familiar world, face trials in the unknown, and return transformed with something valuable. Most people think of that journey as leaving a place, going somewhere new, having adventures. But sometimes the familiar world that has to be left is the family itself. And the dragon that has to be faced is not some external monster, but generations of pain that nobody was brave enough to examine. The black sheep does not choose this journey. Not really. They get pushed onto it. Exiled by a system that needed someone to blame. But exile has a strange gift hidden inside it. Freedom. freedom to question what everyone else accepts, to see what everyone else is blind to build something different because there was never a place in the old structure anyway. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes with this, watching people who seem to fit in without effort, who get approval, who belong, and wondering why the same thing seems impossible to achieve. But belonging at the cost of self-abandonment is not belonging, it is performance. And some people are simply unable to perform convincingly enough. That inability, which feels like failure, is actually integrity that could not be trained out. The system wanted conformity. It did not get it. And now, years later, that refusal to conform is the very thing that allows change. Generational cycle breaking is not dramatic. It is not a single heroic moment. It is choices made daily that nobody sees. Not passing on the same silence, the same guilt, the same unspoken rules. Raising children who do not have to wonder why their family feels like a minefield. Building relationships on honesty instead of image. Finally understanding that the role assigned was never accurate, never deserved, never true. The black sheep was never the family's failure. The black sheep might be the family's only hope. Not to save the family, that is not the job, and it is not possible anyway, but to end what should have ended generations ago. To be the one who stops the bleeding. And to build, finally, something that does not require pretending.